and thank you all so much for the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with you this afternoon. I'm just excited to be able to share a little bit of what we're doing at Corey's house. I think you've had the opportunity to hear from CAST, Citizens Against Sex Trafficking. They've been an amazing partner with us because they focus very heavily and successfully in educating the community on how to help prevent trafficking. And we feel that would be our primary objective, is to try to prevent it from happening to begin with. But unfortunately, even with the best of education, it is happening, and at an alarming rate. So you may or may not know this. I find it shocking that in today's day and age that human trafficking is the single fastest growing crime in the world. And the US is not an exception to that, unfortunately. More shocking to me, as a very happy resident of Minnesota, that we are one of the leading states in the country for child trafficking specifically. And there are a lot of reasons for that that I won't get into today, but sadly that is the case. When it happened to a youth on our street living at home with her two parents and sisters, and it was happening right under their roof. And she unfortunately tried to take her life because she was so ashamed and devastated that she was in this situation and didn't know how to get out of it. But thankfully, she did not succeed, and her parents were able to get her the help that she needed, and she was able to really rebuild her life. And today I'm happy to share with you that she's got her college degree, she's married, she has a little baby, she's thriving. So you can come out of this, and really it's amazing how resilient youth can be when they get the right support. And that's what really tugged at my heart, to become involved in this and try to help ensure that any youth who is in this situation could get the services and the care that they deserved to be able to rebuild their lives. So it doesn't happen the way that most people think. I mean, 40% of trafficking cases that happen in Minnesota involve a minor. And the average age that they're first trafficked is just 13 years old. Very, very young that they're getting trapped into this. Some other hard truths, and not what most people think. A lot of people think about trafficking as kids who were kidnapped, maybe from another country even, or across state lines. But the facts are that most youth, 85% here in Minnesota who are trafficked, know their trafficker. It's someone they trusted. They weren't stolen or taken. It's somebody who spent a lot of time trying to develop a relationship and trust within them to unknowingly pull them into a situation they weren't expecting. And really shocking is that here in Minnesota, the youth who come through child protection who are being trafficked by their own family. So this is not happening the way you think it is. And therefore, we don't see it. We don't even recognize that it could be happening on our own street or in our town. But I promise you, it is. So how is it happening? I'll just very, very high level. It's complex, and there are a lot of things at play here. But one of the big challenges are that today, youth are being exposed to pornography, and the addiction, sex addiction that's occurring in our society is real. It's significant, it's growing, and it leads to a demand that transitions over into the physical realm. So that's a big problem, and the people who are in the business of pornography are trying to objectify and create a desensitization to this objectification, both with somebody who is wanting to see it and somebody who is willing to share information or get involved in it. So there's a very, very strong underground effort, very sophisticated effort that's happening that's driving up demand. And it's just, to me, hard to believe as a parent that the average age that kids are first being exposed to pornography is 8 years old. If they have a phone, your youth is being targeted by somebody, and if they don't have a phone, their friends do. And I promise you, they're getting exposed, no pun intended, to this information, which is really shocking. And 11 by the time they've seen hard porn. And what that does to a little brain, it can't be unseen or unexperienced. So it really is a problem that we need to be aware of as parents, as family members, neighbors, talking to our kids about this. And when asked, surveyed, 42% of youth have said that they've sent or received a nude photo by the age of 14. So just let that sink in. It's a problem. not here to depress the heck out of you, but it's good to be aware because it's in the darkness and the fact that we don't understand it or even know that it's happening, that it's able to exist. So by exposing it, shining a light on it, and creating the opportunity for parents and aunts and uncles and all of us who care about kids to be talking about this so our kids can know a little bit, and the work that CAST is doing to go into schools and talk to youth and help them understand the signs and help parents understand the signs. That's how they become armed, right, to try to prevent it or recognize it if somebody's up to something suspect. Social media has been the other huge factor that's changed the game. Again, if your youth has a phone, something as simple as Scrabble. If there is chatting going on, gaming, all of these things are places where bad actors are trying to find youth and befriend them and figure out a vulnerability that they have that this person can fill, and they will spend months grooming them, that's what it's called, to try to build trust and fill this need that they have and to lure them into a situation they didn't expect. So they target for vulnerabilities that they find out that a youth might have. It could be food insecurity, housing insecurity. If they're getting bullied at school, maybe they're not accepted at home for some of the lifestyle changes that lifestyle choices that they're making. If they have ADHD, maybe they've developed an addiction of some kind. All of those things are vulnerabilities that a predator will exploit, and they will try to say, I'm your friend, I think you're beautiful, I won't bully you, I accept you as you are, I will give you the drugs, I will give you the food, I will give you a place to stay, but it's in exchange for something, it is what it ends up being. So that's, in a nutshell, that's kind of how it works. This is a survey that all high schoolers in the state of Minnesota were given. They do it every few years. This last one was in 2019. I think they're doing another one this year or next year, where they surveyed all 9th and 11th graders who were in school that day. Have you ever traded something of value for sex? And more than 5,000 students answered yes to that question. It's believed that that's highly underrepresented because a lot of kids aren't going to say yes, even if it's in a survey. They don't trust it. There's shame in that, and they don't even want to acknowledge it or admit it. We know that kids who are being heavily exploited and trafficked probably weren't even in school that day. So it's highly underrepresented. They were able to also pull up this data by county. It really didn't vary that much across the state. To think that your own town is immune to it would be a mistake. It's happening everywhere. And if a youth gets trapped into being exploited, which means there might not even be an exchange of money. If I'm exploiting you, I've got power and something you need in exchange for what you're going to give me. So it could be, I'll give you a couch to sleep in exchange for. It's kind of how that works. Trafficking means there's a third party doing the exchange of money between a buyer and the victim. So that's really the difference. And trafficking also involves coercion, control, manipulation. This is not something that a youth is excited to wake up one day and say, I think I want to do this. This is the situation they have been trapped into and don't want to be in, but the situation is what it is. And if once they get trapped into it, much like this youth who was on our street, they feel hopeless, they feel powerless, they don't know how to get out of it. It's a devastating situation to be in. And you can imagine if they're being trafficked by their own family, the ability to get out of it is really difficult, if not impossible. How do you escape the situation? Hugely difficult. And even if they want to or are identified through community services, a social worker, could have been in a hospital, there are lots of ways that they get identified. The sad part about that is that there's nowhere for them to go. There are significant gaps in all across the country, and Minnesota is no exception, that where do they go from there? They are so desperate. I have police officers talking to me saying that we have these youth that we identified through a sting operation, and we have nowhere that can take them. We have to put them, we try to call the hospitals and say, can you just keep them in the ER tonight? We have to figure out where we can help them be in a safe space. There's just nowhere. They put them in correction centers. with kids that are in there for criminal behavior, sometimes violent behavior. That is not a place where youth feels I'm in a safe place, right? Or that I even feel like anybody's really able to help me, or that I want to stay in that place. So that's kind of where we come in. For Corey's House, our vision is that there is no victim of trafficking who does not have access to transformative care. If they're able and willing, we need to know there's a place they can go that can give them the help that they need, because they're facing significant barriers to escape. The traffickers will take every form of ID they have, so they can't even get a job. How do you get a job without a driver's license, social security number, birth certificate, nothing? They can't even prove who they are. They will intentionally get them involved in a crime, so now they have a criminal record, and they'll convince them there's nobody who's going to hire you. There's no way you rent a house, or an apartment. It's impossible, and they don't see their way out of that. They'll also, of course, there's a lot of fear and threatening that if you try to leave, bad things are going to happen to you, to your family. So they're afraid to leave. So when what they need is somebody who can help get that identification back for them, help work with the justice system to expunge these crimes off of their record, so that they have the ability to, and teach them job skills, help them advance through their education, all the things that you need to be economically empowered today, right? They need that help, and they can't do it on their own. So what we try to do now, Corey's House is a residential program. We have been working for 7 years to get to this point, to research what is available today in Minnesota, what services are there, where are the biggest gaps, where do we need to help, who could we help the most? And so the population that we've elected to serve are youth ages 12 to 17. We can get a variance down to 11, and we can keep them up to 21 if they don't have a safe place to go, and as long as they're progressing through the program. And we can serve up to 6 youth at one time. Some might stay a month, 90 days, others may stay 18 months, 2 years. It's really going to depend on their circumstances. But our goal is that when they leave Corey's House, they've been empowered with a safe place and all of the skills and tools that they need to be able to remain free from exploitation. So when they're there, we are a crisis center. They can come in right as they've been identified, and we'll give them a safe space. Did you have a question?
Did you say you only have 6?
6. We are in a house, a residential home that is actually located here in Oakdale.
That's not nearly enough for...
No, it's not. But you don't want to put a large number of highly traumatized individuals in the same place. They need a lot of intensive support and care. They're not there to join a sorority, right? They're in the darkest days of their life, and we're trying to help give them a very safe space where they're not feeling overcrowded or threatened or what have you. So, and I tell you, it's a zoning challenge as well. Even if we wanted to do more, the zoning laws don't allow you to have more than 6 unrelated residents in a home in most of the counties, at least around here. So 6 is what we have, 6 individual bedrooms. Each youth has their own room. I'll show you a little bit about the home. And so when they're there, we're providing intensive individual and group therapy. They really need, if you don't get mental health, it's very hard to recover from this kind of trauma. To be able to process what happened to you, right? How do you make peace with that? But you need to make peace if you're going to move forward in your life. So that's a huge component of it. And then also case managers who are working with community services to help support. If they're fighting a case against a trafficker, could be, maybe even something against their own family to try to get independence. Who knows what the situation is, but we're connecting them with all those community services. We're helping them continue their education. Would you like to go in person? Do you want to do virtual, online? We're trying to help them build a voice. Whatever you want, we're going to support you in that process. They're learning life skills. How do you learn to cook a meal, do laundry, keep a budget, keep a schedule, all the things that youth need, right, to be able to be on their own when they leave the program. There's a lot that they need to learn. Learning healthy relationships. They've never had boundaries where they're not being violated. They don't even know what a healthy boundary looks like. We model that and we work with them so they know how to, be empowered to stand their ground on what's appropriate and inappropriate with other people. And then we're helping them to learn job skills and get employment opportunities that when they become older. We're providing that as well. So just to let you know, we had some very big goals. Last year we've been 7 years in the making. Last year was a pivotal year where we acquired a home. We submitted 800 pages worth of licensing to the DHS. Our goal was to educate 1,000 youth and adults. It is expected that we're not just on the catching end of this, but what are we doing preventatively? And that's where our partnership with CAS comes into play. Most of these we did in partnership with them. And we had to raise $400,000 because we do get funding support through federal, state, and local, but we have to raise about 50% of the cost on our own. They don't want to cover all of it. They want to know that the community is supporting this as well. It's kind of a joint venture. So we accomplished all of those goals last year, and then our goals for this year was that we would become approved. It took about 9 months for DHS to go through all of the 800 pages, and we have received our licensing, so we are now officially licensed to serve. We are now actively hiring our staff. We have 11 staff who provide the direct care. We have 2 people at all times, 24/7 in the home, doing 8-hour shifts, who are always awake, available, monitoring, making sure youth feel safe and supported. If they're having a bad day and they've been triggered over, maybe today was their birthday and they're just reminded that nobody, cares out in the world, or their family, or holidays, or something bad happened on this particular day. We're always attuned to that and there to support them through it. And then, so the goal was to open the doors this year. We needed to raise even more money this year, which was $500,000, $500,000, and we are on track to do that. After our gala 2 weeks ago, which was an enormous success for us, we will achieve that goal as well. So now what we're trying to do is just get everybody hired and trained so that they're all ready to receive that first youth, which we're targeting right now, end of November, December, to make that happen. I think. And just so, prevention education is key. You might even see Ashley on there from CAST. Yeah, the Survivor Story Spotlight that we did last year, a podcast that we did with Ashley also, that we try to help, create these opportunities to help her get more visibility too. It's been a beautiful partnership, but the education is key. This is actually the front door of the home, and we have 6 private bedrooms that just look amazing, a kitchen and dining area. We have a hearth room, gathering space where they're able to gather and just be kids and watch television or do meetings. We have a therapy room where they can meet with their therapists, and they also learn de-escalation strategies in there. We have a dedicated education room if they're going to be learning virtually. There's a room that's just for that. We have a therapeutic gardens. So for youth, there's a lot of data around the benefits of getting your hands in the dirt, feeling empowered to grow something, care for it, and be able to share it. There's anybody who's had a garden or grown up near farming, what that does. So we're so blessed to be able to provide that. And of course, an office for our staff. I think that's it. Really, our goal is that these youth are able to receive the services that they need, that truly empowers and equips them to remain free from exploitation when they leave. So I'll open it up for any questions. So Washington County, as you probably know, is the 5th largest county in the state, and we were the only county in the top 10 most populated counties that did not have a program of any kind for any type of survivor. So this is the first of its kind in Washington County, which I'm thrilled about, and they've been wonderful partners with us to help make this happen. And the only other 2 programs that are anywhere near us, there's one in St. Paul, which houses 6, and one in Minneapolis, same size, and they're shelters. They are really designed for shelter, short-term care, bed, safe housing, and let's try to get them somewhere. We're really unique in that we're set up to say, there are a lot of kids out there who don't have a safe place, and we want to be able to provide that long-term where they're not wondering, where am I going to be tomorrow, right? Where am I going to have to sleep tomorrow? We want to take that away and let them focus on doing the work to get better. Well, we work with the county on that. Our feeling is we're not going to turn them away. So the hope is that you can find a guardian, could be an extended guardian, maybe even someone in another state if they're willing to step up. It could be a foster home. If there are foster homes that are happy to take youth in, but sometimes that doesn't work. They don't really know how to support them adequately, and some kids are abused in foster homes. So, it's just going to depend on the youth, but our position is we don't have an end date. Well, we're told that on day one, when we open our doors, just right here, pretty much in Washington, and maybe a little bit, surrounding nearby, we'll have 75 to 80 applicants on day one. I see a head nodding of people involved. Yeah, it's very sad how many youth need it, who need the services. So this is the first for us. We're getting this one up and running. There will be more. Our vision is there will be no victim who doesn't have access to these services if they need them. So
how do they know you exist and that they can apply?
yeah, it's letting the schools know, letting community services, child protection is a big area where they come through, and for us to work through the county, police officers are finding them. The hospitals, school social workers often become aware, churches could become aware, so they come through a lot of different areas. And they can self-report, they can call, but that's the problem. A lot of them don't know unless somebody's able to tell them. Yeah, great question. Well, we assess each youth where they are and what they're comfortable with, and we're not going to push them into boundaries that they're not comfortable with. But our goal is to keep them connected with community. We take them to the zoo. We're taking them to all kinds of activities, like you would any youth, to be involved and active. They have a very busy day. They have a daily schedule they get every week. For most of the day is in school. Or if they're a little bit older, it could be learning a trade, but they have to be doing one or the other. It's a voluntary program. We cannot force them to be there. This is not a corrections place. If a 12-year-old wants to walk out the door, we cannot stop them. We will try to talk with them to understand what's happening, right? And how can we work with you to help address whatever it is that's making you feel that you don't want to be here? Can we talk through that and help you? But if you insist that you don't want to be here, let's just talk about a safety plan. We're going to do our very, very best to help. And do you have a place to go? Do we have a plan here? And the minute they walk out the door, we report them as missing. And then the police get involved. They know that. That's how it works. But we're going to let them go because we can't keep them. We can't force them. And they know that. Yeah, it's voluntary. That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. We serve all youth because boys are being trafficked also, sadly. Yeah, and it was a big question from a safety standpoint, right? Okay, how does that work? Is that a safe situation? How does that make the youth in the home feel that maybe I'm not comfortable with a boy? We always will give priority to the youth who are in the home. We don't want to create a triggering situation. But what we've learned is that no matter who you have in the home, you have safety concerns because they can get triggered and they might not get along always. And so we have cameras in every floor, in every public area of the home, and we can see at all times what's happening. They like that. They want to feel safe. And so it's sort of like TSA. You can't profile. You cannot assume anything when you have these youth in the home. So we have to have the highest levels of monitoring and protection in their best interest no matter who's there. But if for some reason a youth said, I'm not safe, then we're going to honor that first. Yeah, it depends. Yeah, if the parents are the problem and they're now awarded of the state can make the decisions. They've lost legal guardianship. Right, but there are parents who will say, I'm not sure how to support. If you can help them and then they can come back, that would be great. And that would be a good ideal situation. We would love that. Is that it?
Awesome.
Thank you for the questions. And